Board committee resignations from the library trustee and the land use committee. Review of the auto dealer license inquiry. Discussion on trail loop contract. Union building exterior restoration, the designer services contract for us to approve. The climate action group update on the state climate leaders program. ARPA reallocation, reallocation, sorry. And what else we got here? Town administrator's report, and then section 5E, the community outreach for the town administrator's contract. So, I'm starting with the tax rate hearing. Is Vicky coming for this?
They are here,
Okay.
just across the way. I think they're just printing stuff out.
Okay. Well, we're waiting for that, and we can jump to the minutes and take that out of order. Everyone's okay with that?
Yeah, the minutes were fine to me, so.
Okay, Ron?
They're fine to me too, so.
Make a motion
I
on
move
that?
to approve the meeting minutes from October 22nd, 2024, and November 12th, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Anything else we can do here?
What about the resignation?
Yeah, we can take those out of order as well.
It was Mr. Callahan, and I can't remember who was. the land use.
And Erica Flynn from the land use committee.
Okay.
We received written requests from those two folks to resign from the boards that they are on. So neither one is here. Anyone here to speak to that? None.
Yeah, thank them for their time, appreciate that, hopefully they have some other things to fill the void with. I know those are two busy groups, so thank them for their service.
Yeah, agreed.
There is a
Is there a
motion.
motion for that?
Yeah, we do. Move to request the select board's office publicize the committee and board vacancies on the land use committee and board of library trustees on the town website and social media, and also request the board of library trustees consider candidates and make a recommendation to the select board to fill their vacancy.
Second.
Further discussion?
Giddy up.
All those in favor?
Aye. Now we have,
Oh, sorry. Yes, John?
I just wanted to know who has stepped.
It was Mr. Callahan from the library trustees, Mr. John
Okay.
Callahan, and then Erica Flynn from the land use committee.
That's all I wanted to know.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go back to the tax rate hearing. We have Vicky, our assessor, and our Board of Assessor chair. Are you chair?
No, are you?
No, I think it's changed.
Yeah, I think.
Okay,
I think.
all right, well, you're from them.
I've been doing it for a while.
Okay. Yeah, so, we have a motion to open the public hearing for the tax rate, the setting of the tax rate.
Not the setting of the tax rate, we're just saying whether we're having a split rate or not.
Okay,
Right, yeah.
setting of the rate of the,
Setting of the weight, you can say that, yes,
Yeah.
if you like, yeah.
all right.
So we need a motion to open the tax classification hearing, right? No? Yep.
no, this is just.
Just did that?
Open the hearing.
Cool.
Okay, you're up.
All right, well, as usual, nothing's changed in Dunstable as far as residential, commercial splits. Residential makes up about 96% of the tax base. So there's no sense in any kind of a split tax rate. It's best to just have one tax rate for all classes.
Yeah, we're consistent, if anything, so
Yes, yes.
it is what it is. So.
Yeah.
Any questions with that? I mean,
Makes sense. We've been doing it this way for a long time. It continues to make sense. Yeah, I'm asking you, do you have any comments?
I don't have any comments.
Okay.
No, I mean, it's just been, just like she says, it's kind of.
One day I'm gonna come here and say, we've got 55% commercial.
There'll be pigs flying outside too.
All right, does anybody out there in the audience have any questions or concerns regarding this? No, there being none. All right, back to the board.
I move to establish a single tax rate factor of 1.
Second.
Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
You're
you.
talented.
Oh,
Okay. Next up is the public hearing for the liquor license. So we will open the public hearing for that, for section 15 off-premise liquor license application for Maribel Farm LLC at 11 Pleasant Street. So you're here to speak to that tonight, I take it?
I suppose so. I don't know what words are left to say at this
Yeah.
point, but,
I know you've been gone through a very lengthy process with all of the boards that are relevant.
So here we are,
Here you are,
checking off boxes.
checking, exactly.
Next box.
You have your, very,
My only question was on the schedule, like, would you ever consider, like, being open on Memorial Day? Because, like, I know it's a holiday, but I wasn't sure, like, if that was something, I know, like,
Sundays, we're planning on doing shortened hours anyways.
Okay.
Sue recommended just doing the full 11 to 7 for all 7 days. with
Okay.
Ace for some reason, but Dunstable is closed Monday and Tuesday, so.
okay,
Well, actually, on Sundays in Massachusetts, we have to close at 6 p.m. regardless.
got it,
Yeah.
okay.
And we cannot start before 9 a.m., right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, just, I mean, sometimes it's, I like when Farmhouse has a little extra hours, like they're doing the Jingle Fest, they're staying open a little bit later
Oh,
that
I see.
day.
Yeah, if it's
And sometimes it's
requested,
nice
if
for people to-
are, yeah, if
Yeah.
it's something that's happening, then maybe, but if we have the full hours anyway, it's kind of
Okay.
at the behest, but
Cool, all right.
we'll gauge.
And you're right, you guys have visited with us and many other boards several times, so I don't have any questions for this group. I think I'm understanding and pretty appreciative of their willingness to see this through, so,
like a 20-page
yeah.
application here, very detailed. Jason, do you have anything to add to this? No.
No, let's get them open.
Let's get going.
No, they've been through the process, they've done their due diligence. There are still a few things that are
Right.
outstanding, but all the departments have signed off and, I think we're ready to go.
If we're good, we'll open to the public. Is anyone in the public that would like to speak to this? Okay,
As a butters.
okay.
Excellent.
That's very good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Joan?
Is the last time we talked about this, I believe there was some discussion about a traffic study. Has that been,
So he came out, the traffic memo, he has all his photos, he's compiling that. He's a cute little old man with a beret, and he should be emailing me shortly, and as soon as I have that, he will have that.
So what you've said is the traffic study's been done.
It's not a full traffic study, it's just whatever was requested, the traffic memo, I think is the official, but I don't have it physically in my hands yet, but he does have all of the information. He came out and did his full site survey, so when I have
Yes, there. Okay.
it.
Was that requested by the planning board?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah,
I move to approve the application as presented from Mirabelle Farms LLC at 11 Pleasant Street for a section 15 off-premise all alcohol license. Manager Amanda Shannon, with hours of operation from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Sunday, subject to approval from the ABCC, receipt of all applicable sign-offs and permits, all fees paid, and query approval.
second.
Any further discussion? No? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you guys
Yeah,
very
good luck.
much. Appreciate it.
Looking forward to it.
Have fun.
Thank you. Didn't mean to skip out, but.
Yeah, no,
school
go for
night. Have a good one. Merry
You
Christmas.
too, same to you.
Okay, public comment. Does anybody out there have anything that they would like to speak to? Not specifically on our agenda. Okay, I'm gonna take that as a no, so we will move forward. The next thing is for Ann Paquin, however, she was not going to be here. So we will jump to the next.
I told Ann 6, just
Okay,
because I thought we had a lot to go through.
okay. Well,
I didn't-
slow down maybe.
Maybe text
Or do you
her,
want to maybe,
send her a message or text her.
no, to. Then we'll, well,
We
we've
can
got that.
grind a bit if we
Yeah.
need to, rather than,
Well, we'll just keep going. See where we go.
nice to have you
Okay.
on that. Positive. Cool.
Okay, so the auto dealer license inquiry. So, I know there's one particular person in town who was inquired in that we had to develop something.
Yeah, Sue did the bulk of the work on this, so I'll let her speak to it in greater detail, but we did get an inquiry, and now, they reached out to you, Leah. They've reached out to Sue as well. We kind of took a look at models that existed. We didn't have any of this in place, so we had to create and or recreate what was in place before. So these are the documents we put together. They're largely, correct me if I'm wrong, Sue, but they're largely modeled after town of Chelmsford.
Yes, and the process is very similar to the liquor license process as far as all of the application. It's almost identical, honestly, with a little more, obviously, auto-related stuff.
Yeah. So, and now would this be just like a regular home business that someone could do? They could apply for this license and then, or is it,
I'm
does it
not,
have to be in a B
have to be in a
zone?
B zone,
Okay,
business zone. I think the residential zoning,
or within the town center? If it met all of those
I don't think
requirements,
it
no?
could, no, I don't think it would meet the town center requirements
Yeah.
either. I think it would have to be in a B
In a
one.
B one.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I.
Do we know enough about where this potential person, this is the first I've heard of it, so I didn't know if there was a specific part of town they're looking to do.
It's Matt Raymond, the
Okay.
property
Which is
over by the
so-
general store.
Okay, the MSR.
Yes.
there?
Yeah,
Okay.
the bar means.
Yeah.
So I think he was looking to have a used dealership on the property,
Okay,
from what he told me.
interesting, okay.
So what is it you need from us to just approve this application form or?
Yeah, we did a similar process with the liquor license stuff. We just wanted you to see it, and look at it before we kind of move
Yeah.
forward with the process and the application forms.
The fee is consistent with other towns?
You know, is that considered a B1? It is now a B1 partial, correct?
I see.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
He rezoned it a number of years ago.
that's what I thought, but I know there was questions on that at one point over there. But, okay,
In looking at the zoning map, I know you gave this to me recently, Sue. I don't know if the entire parcel is zoned. It's a pretty big piece, or it's broken
It is,
up to a couple of different pieces, and I don't know if the entire thing is B1. It doesn't look like it, but I may just be misreading it.
Taking a look.
well, yeah, and you have next door, you have Ernie's Septic, which is, I know that's a home business,
It's a home, that's not part of it.
so that's not part of this, but
No.
just-
Well, anyway, that's something.
This is more for the process.
Yeah.
And part of the process would be him getting, as the Mirabelle Farms had to get sign-offs from each department saying, yes,
Yeah.
you can move forward with this. It needs zoning, et cetera, so whoever would like an auto dealer's license would have to go through almost, as Sue was saying, the identical process as someone going for like a license. And there is a department review sheet
okay.
as part of it, with fire, police, DPW, tax collector, health, community development, building department on there, so.
No, it looks good. I mean, John, no,
Okay, I'm sorry, I was in the back and couldn't hear very well. So, what are we talking about here?
Someone had asked, both Jason and then me and Sue probably, about what someone needs to do to get a license to sell automobiles. And we didn't have a particular process in place. So Sue and Jason have put together an application form, and we're starting to establish the process of getting a license to be able to sell cars,
A used car lot.
a used car lot, yes.
Well, I mean, we do have language in the zoning bylaws, is used car lots listed in there?
I do not know.
I'm pretty sure it is in B1.
What's that?
I think
In
it is in
B1,
B1. I think it is.
Yeah,
And what is the area, what spot is it where this area, the used car lots?
Well, we don't actually have an application before us yet. We're creating the application.
Okay.
But the person that has inquired, we believe it would be at Matt Raymond's place across the street from the general store.
Okay, and you were right, that whole area was not zoned.
B1. They just
Well,
part of it.
I'm not.
it's like the Peter Georges, you go back in history, you can see that's not what it was intended to be.
What's that?
It was like Peter George's, what was it initially? How did it evolve? It's all the history of parcels. So
Well, just what we need, a used car lot in the center of town, all right, it can't be any worse than what we have on Salmon Brook now. But,
Well, again, the process involves having to go to each individual board in order to get their approval, so it's not, it's the process. We're creating a process. I suppose.
yeah, I mean, he's a landowner off of 113 up closer to McLoone Barn, where that big parcel is, where I know there's a number of vehicles and things like that being stored. So it's something that we should be thoughtful about, not because of the individual, but because of the practice in terms of where it is in town and what it means to the neighbors and their resources we have here. So I think, puts a little pressure on our planning board friends and a couple other boards as well as us to sort of be thoughtful about a plan.
the resources that,
Natural resources, our aquifers, our salamanders, my dorkiness for turtles, so
Yeah.
things like that. So, I don't like seeing just excavators and RVs everywhere. I'd rather see trees and pollinator flowers and stuff like that. But I'm hokey when it comes to that stuff. So.
Alan?
Some of us may recall a town meeting 10 or a dozen years ago where the article in dispute, which wound up with, I believe, 3 or 4 different votes, was whether or not to give the planning board the authority. Well, actually, there were 2 steps. One was to designate the property in question B1 officially.
Is that what it is, B1?
But
it's
now for the
B1
rest of the story.
with a B2.
The planning board, according to, I don't remember if it was the same article or different article, but anyway, was to be given the authority to change a B1 to a B2, which led to a spirited debate and several votes, separated by 1 or 2 votes each time. I won't go into the history of why the votes occurred several times. Let's just say it was controversial. At any rate, the planning board, I believe, then went ahead and designated the property as B2, which I know is what's required for a gas station. and I suspect logically would be required for a used car lot. If that's the case, if I'm correct, we have a B2 property, thanks to the planning board at the time and the town meeting, which is controversial, ready and waiting for an application, which isn't to say that the application would come forth or succeed through the various boards. But I think that's the history. Joni, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think as I recall, it was a situation where, you know, the area is designated B1. And a B2 use can be allowed with, I believe it required a special permit. I'm not sure. I believe it required a special permit from
Through the planning board. In short,
in order to use it in a,
a zoning change by the planning board as opposed by the town meeting. Which is why it was controversial.
Right. Do you have the map?
It's not clear to me based on the language if it's even allowed on the property, but it's a service station or repair shop for motor vehicles, sale and rental of light equipment. I don't know.
Light
Of
equipment.
light equipment,
Yeah.
that's this is B2,
Yeah.
and it would be by special permit.
Well, I mean, we're to the origin of the agenda. It's creating the application in the event that someone came forth. But it's a good chatting topic for our boards and our residents to think about. And then, you know, this,
Right.
This-
Certainly this measure before you now is an appropriate preparation for what may come down the road.
no pun intended.
Yeah.
It says B1 on this map.
It says what?
B1.
So our maps say B1.
That's what it says.
Now, Mars.
well,
Yeah,
I think it is zone B1, but
I did read it in our the
it,
town meeting minutes about that,
But
not that long
in the
ago.
uses permitted, it says any use permitted and as regulated elsewhere in this bylaw in an R1, I forget it, sorry.
I think it's zone B1, but
Yeah.
there was a stipulation there that with the, and I think that was voted at town meeting, with the special permit of the planning board, it could be, that's how he was able to put his
There's equipment there.
equipment there, right?
Okay. Well, I'm sure there'll be more to come on this, but at this point, we're just establishing the process, so.
We don't have an applicant, so
Not only is there one for the town, but there's also one for the state. There's a state application they have to go through too,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, it's incorporated, yeah.
Yeah.
It's in our package, yeah.
And just because I always, either Ron and I think usually think of these things, do we need to run town council through the application process? We're sort of picking up a model from other places.
One more thing, there was something, I believe, certain portions of that property were, I think were zoned B1. Or maybe allowed the B2 use, but other portions were not.
Mhm.
So that's something that has to be, you know,
It may be that the special permit allowed that use that is currently there. But it's
But honestly, we're not gonna get an application unless it's determined that that this
Yeah.
use complies with the zoning
Right.
of the parcel that they wanna locate it on. So
Yeah.
we won't even, the select board won't even see an application unless it's determined as such, so.
Well, I'm just saying that certain buildings there were, able to be used for the purpose he wanted to use it for. And certain buildings were not,
Yeah, there's a few different
so
structures on that parcel.
what it's worth.
All right, anything else on this application process draft? I think it's quite thorough and
In this, I'm sorry, but in this motion, when we refer to chapter 140, right, and I do know there are several levels of car dealer licenses, right? Does 140 define all of that? Is that how that works, Jason?
Yes, it defines that, it defines, what authority lies where as well.
Okay, so, I mean, if this guy wants to sell new cars, he's gonna apply for a new car license, or a used car license, or salvage title operation, right? So, and 140 has all that, right? I guess this is just establishing a process.
It is.
right.
So I move that in accordance with chapter 140 of Massachusetts General Laws, section 5759, move to approve the auto dealer licensing process, material requirements, and applications as presented, and approve an annual license fee of $200.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Putting that together. Sue and Jason. Next up, the trail loop contract. Do you have an update on that?
Real briefly, you probably remember at the annual town meeting approved $20,000 to support the town center trail loop project. It was meant at the time to be a match to a Mass Trails grant that we applied for. Unfortunately, we did not receive the Mass Trails grant. So, in thinking about how best to move forward, I reached out to NEMCOG and asked them if there was a way that we could utilize the funding to continue to advance the project with the hope of making us more competitive for Mass Trails grant moving forward, so for next round.
Okay.
So, Leah, as you know, I talked to the Community Preservation Committee about it.
Yep.
They were comfortable with this approach. And so before you have the scope of work, which in a nutshell is a feasibility study, and then does some outreach to some of the key stakeholders and abutters. And then, so that's the scope of work, and then you have a draft contract with NEMCOG for them to execute. So
So the only thing I saw that is sort of out of line is the timeline. It had a
Oh.
start date of October, so
A little behind that.
on page 3.
okay. Yeah, that was when we first put this together. So, okay. So just put December. And then just push it out to March.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aside from that, yeah, it's good, so it's incorporated the feedback that you got and.
I move to award a professional services contract to the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments for a feasibility study and preliminary stakeholder outreach for the Town Center Trail Loop project in the amount of $20,000 and to authorize the chair to sign the contract on behalf of the board.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Cool. Yeah. That's
You're right.
kind of a shoulder too.
Okay, Okay, next up is the Union Building exterior restoration for the designer services contract. And so we had been presented to us at our last meeting, the recommendation of the Union Building Restoration Committee. And that committee put forward their list of people that submitted bids for the design aspect of the exterior work and ranked everybody before submissions. I believe you've been in contact with the number one outfit that was recommended, and things are good. You worked it out.
They're good. So then the next step was to get a fee proposal from them, which is in your packet. So we had in the RFQ that we issued, we had the price of not to exceed $100,000. So they met that requirement. Fee proposal looks good. So next step is to accept it and to authorize entering into a contract with G&M.
Yeah,
Anybody?
No?
carry on.
Pretty straightforward.
It is.
Okay.
Move to award a contract for architectural services to Janina Architects in the amount of $100,000 to design the exterior restoration of the Union Building and authorize the chair to sign the contract on behalf of the board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do you want to text Anne? Okay, next up, the Climate Action Group update on the State Climate Leaders Program. Is someone here tonight for that? Yeah, come on up, please.
So my name's Ken Horton. I'm a member of the Climate Action Working Group in Groton.
Great.
And that was a group that was formed by our town manager to assess the support for a climate action resolution in the town of Groton. And we're in the process of gathering data about that, assessing what people think about it. And haven't yet produced a report, but expect to have that in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So I was asked to talk about what the Climate Leaders program is about.
Yeah, do you mind if I just set the table a little bit on this one? So, and sorry to interrupt.
No.
So I think about a month ago, Lacey's here too. I think about a month ago, the Climate Action
Working Group.
The Climate Action Working Group approached the school committee and requested that they sign on to a resolution, climate action resolution of some kind. And this is part of the process, as I understand it, to join the Climate Leaders Program, which is essentially the Green Communities Program enhanced. And so, as you know, Town of Dunstable is a green community now. They have developed this state, Climate Leaders Program, which if you meet additional criteria, you are eligible for additional grant funds. So the Groton, this working group in Groton approached the school committee. The school committee's response, I believe, was, sounds great, but let's make sure that both towns are supportive and on board with this before the school committee makes a decision. And so, not being an expert in this, in knowing that this working group in Groton has been spending a great deal of time and energy on it, I asked that they come and make a brief presentation on the program, its merits, process to get there, and any other information that you want to share.
Right.
So thank you for being here. Sorry I didn't set the stage before, but I think that, I don't know, Lacey, is that do a decent job with it?
Yep, so just a quick update from the school committee's side. We did take a vote at our last meeting, where we basically said that we would join on to the resolution pending approval from the Groton Select Board and Dunstable Select Board as well. And from our perspective, it basically means that we will look to do energy efficient projects or take on any kind of capital improvements from the lens of doing it in a more sustainable, environmentally conscious way, so long as it's financially feasible, like that we're able to access funds to help to cover that and so on. So yes.
Okay. And as it was explained to me, the biggest difference between the Green Communities Program and the Climate Leaders Program is the adoption of an enhanced stretch code, local option stretch code, which I believe only applies to new construction. I think that's the major, I think there are others, but that's the most significant difference between the green communities. To be a green community, you had to adopt stretch code, but this is a enhanced stretch code that applies to new construction. I'll stop talking. Could be a significant cost to new construction.
So stepping back just a second. So green communities was about energy efficiency. Reduce energy use, reduce the cost of the energy you use in municipal operations, whether that be in buildings or vehicles. The Climate Leaders Program is really just a shift in focus. It is complementary to the Greens community, but it's a shift in focus from energy efficiency to carbon footprint reduction. Okay, so its primary effort is to eliminate the local burning of fossil fuels, essentially is the goal. So it's an effort to get municipalities to sign up to eliminate carbon fuels in their buildings and their vehicles and other municipal operations. Okay. So the climate communities and it is in addition to green communities, and it's as they say, an additional layer of opportunity for communities to get funding for activities which drive this carbon reduction goal. Okay. Requirements for joining up. You have to be a green community in good standing. You have to have a local body that advises the select board and administration on sustainability related issues. The big thing actually is a commitment by the select board to the net zero 2050 goal, which is the elimination or net zero carbon emissions by the year 2050, which brings the community into congruence with the state law, which has set that goal for the state as a whole. And what's necessary, another necessary element is you need to have what they call a municipal decarbonization roadmap. And what this is, it's an enhancement of your capital planning process, which requires that you consider decarbonization options anytime major renovations are occurring on a building. So if you're replacing an HVAC system, you would have to consider the heat pump option. If you're putting a new roof on a building, you might have to consider photovoltaics, or if photovoltaics doesn't make any sense, you consider a construction method that is compatible with installing photovoltaics at a different time, and you put in the wiring so that it's photovoltaic ready. That consideration of those low carbon options are not, it's not mandatory they be implemented. It's mandatory that they be evaluated. So if it turns out that it's technically or financially not feasible, you can fall back to the carbon burning option if that's all that's left. Okay, it's just an effort to push towards that zero option going forward. The town also needs to adopt a zero emission vehicle first policy, which right now is all light vehicles. You need to consider an electric vehicle, either an all electric vehicle, plug-in hybrid, or a hybrid as options before you fall back to the internal combustion option. Okay. And then finally, yes, you have to adopt the specialized building code. And it's important that you realize that the specialized building code affects costs if you're using coal. In other words, if you're gonna put in a gas furnace, then yes, it's gonna add costs to construction, because you've got to enable a carbon-free future. So in other words, you have to wire it to have a heat pump. If you build an all-electric building, there's no change in costs, because you're meeting all the requirements. Okay, so it's an effort to push new construction towards an all-electric design.
And this is, I'm sorry, this is construction done by the municipality or any construction in town?
It's construction by the municipality. Okay. Yeah, the plan is, this is pressure on the municipalities.
Okay, yes. So this new stretch code wouldn't be pushed on to residential?
No.
No, okay.
No,
It's
it
specific
would be
to
stretch code.
unit.
No,
Yeah.
the stretch code would be the building code for the town.
And this participation, I assume it opens up some more avenues for funding?
So, correct.
Like specific funding,
So-
not just for study, but for like actual projects?
Correct. So very recently, just in the last couple months, $60 million has been dumped into this program, with $52.5 million of it being for projects, to
Okay.
fund specific projects, and then $7.5 million for technical assistance
Mhm.
that help with both planning for the process and for technical assistance in creating these municipal plans.
Great.
Okay.
This is a question way outside the box, and you'll probably frown at me when I ask this question, but is there any linkage between these type of action like concepts and like community preservation funding sources? Because I think of restoration as something we use pretty famously for restoring some of our wonderful parks and resources, but I also know that school roof really needs some restoration. And it'd really benefit from like a solar restoration type project.
So absolutely, if solar's involved, this is the kind of project that this program advocates, yes.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the point there would be the power of this group would align themselves with the concepts of a community preservation effort to find some type of linkage. And I know it doesn't exist now, but that's why I think.
There's really nothing in the Community Preservation Act that would allow, if it were historic school, we were restoring it to be the same.
But some of our parks aren't historic, so we restore the
No,
trails.
but parks are, well, no, they don't restore the trails. You can do work for recreation stuff. And you can buy open space, you can do affordable housing, and the historic is specific in the language on how money can be used for.
Right, but undesignated funds could be used for that type of restoration of a building for the, and that's why I think that's actually the usefulness of the
No,
group to me.
it wouldn't, you wouldn't be able,
It's a stretch, but,
it's a huge task. It's
Yeah.
not-
but I mean, like, we
It's
also
not-
have,
I appreciate you being
Historic.
creative with the
it
funds.
doesn't have to be
Yeah.
historic, it could be.
But it has
For
to
a
be.
CPA fund.
It has to be historic, yes.
Yeah. I appreciate you trying to,
Well, I'm trying to like
Even
not,
together,
I'm
I
trying to
get
not
it.
do an override for a school roof when we have we have some money set aside already, and the usefulness of this type of concept here to try to blend the worlds together
yeah,
and come up with a solution.
but unfortunately, it's not.
That's my only,
Yeah.
trying to be a pain in the butt.
No, it's a fair question. Fair
So
question.
can I just add, on that issue here in the school roof one, I think that's actually a good example, not necessarily for community preservation, but in a different way. So there is a particular grant that is designed to help school systems to repair or replace roofs with the idea that you would install solar panels.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic opportunity. We're looking into it. I don't know if that's something that Dunstable / Rockland School District will qualify for.
Yeah.
But working with a group like this, kind of, they can be really helpful in terms of that grant writing process. Because we don't have grant writing staff, schools, you know, and that's something that there are a lot of grants potentially out there but we don't have necessarily people that know that they're there, know to go out, how to go after them, how to write those grant applications.
Yeah.
So working with a group like this does help us to access that other money that's out there. So not necessarily our, community preservation money, but there is other money that's potentially on the table and up for grabs for communities that go after it. We just don't have the bandwidth to be able to do that on our own.
Yeah. Did the recent Florence Roach / Stoddard School fall into any of this? Like approval for a green, like LEED type of?
Well, that whole project predated this.
Okay.
But there was money received for, there's a battery installation.
Okay.
So yes, some money has been involved in green communities
Okay.
in that project.
And future projects at the middle school.
Yeah.
If we were to join the program.
Yeah.
This is like the best, it's the last page. It's
Yeah.
The best comparison.
Yeah, no, that's really
Okay.
good. I just, the stretch code is the one thing that I'm still not fully rocking my head around. So it's, this specialized one is specific for municipal buildings, just to
No,
clarify.
No.
it's you've got to adopt it as the township-wide code.
It's just like the stretch code you adopted to be a green community. It applies to it applies to all buildings, all buildings in town. Just it's enhanced from what we have now.
Right.
And you should also be aware of just the context here. So the state of Massachusetts has adopted an international code, an IECC. I can't remember what the acronym stands for their base energy code. We're currently working to 2018 version of that code, and it's revised every 3 years. And as of January 1st, Massachusetts will be transitioning to the 2021 version of that code. And that jumps up the energy requirements for a building, and it changes some electrical requirements. Yeah, anywhere, right, the basis, and the transition, and 2024 is mostly written, and it's in the process of being approved, and it jumps it up another level of efficiency and make more provisions for carbon-free electricity. So what the state's doing with these stretch and specialized codes is just saying we want to move faster than the international body moves, because this ratcheting up of requirements is going to happen whether you step out 3 years, get ahead of the curve or not. It's coming.
Cool.
So the process for doing each of these things,
So where we're at as a community, so we last did a energy reduction plan in 2019. So it's very outdated. And so I've been struggling to get one of National Grid's subcontractors to come in and work with us to essentially update our existing energy reduction plan, which really needs to be done. And to be honest, we're leaving money on the table with the Green Communities program because we don't have an updated energy reduction plan. I think we're eligible at the moment for slightly over $300,000 if we get our acting in gear and have a plan that's up to date. I'm hoping to have that for the spring round of the Green Communities program. We've also, as you know, we've also just been awarded a regional grant with Pepperell, Littleton, Dunstable, and Townsend. And so we've received a grant, the four of us, to share a sustainability manager position. That's not the title of it, but that's essentially the work. Energy manager, thank you, energy manager position. And so, so we're in the process of working with NEMCOG because we think NEMCOG's going to be the actual employer of the position. We'll get a contract with them. And so the hope is that they can provide some focus to full-time person for 4 communities. So we're not going to get enough, but we'll get at least more attention than we do now in this round. But if the board thought this was worthwhile, this is something that we could put, where each community's setting 4 goals for this position. my first goal for this position is get our energy reduction plan updated. Hopefully I'll be able to do that before, but in case I don't. But this is something also that we could kind of charge this person, whoever it is, to help us
Yeah.
comply with and join, if that was of interest to the board.
Do any of these require a town meeting vote?
The stretch code would need town meeting, I don't think.
No. Okay, yeah, the last time.
You
Stretch
need
code
to
doesn't
have
need
a
town meeting?
resolution, you need to have a resolution to commit to the 2050 net zero goal, so yes.
But not town meeting.
No, for the town to adopt the new stretch code, does the town need to have a town meeting? Does it have to be
I thought
on the warrant?
We adopted the stretch code just a few years ago, right?
Yeah, it's changed.
Yeah, but I mean, the
But-
select board probably, I don't remember that going to
It didn't go to
town
town meeting?
meeting. No, I don't remember.
I don't
that going
remember.
to town meeting, no.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't.
I don't think,
Do you know when? I can.
No, I don't remember. It was a few
so
years
if that's the case in the stretch, I don't think any of the other would, I don't think it would need to, I think the select board, it's well within your authority to do each of these.
I think that's how we did the stretch code with the whole blower door thing, all that kind of stuff.
The select board just did?
Yeah, that was my recollection of it. Yeah.
Before totally,
Yeah, I'm looking
it was before Chapman Street, but it was after Alexander,
Yeah. So like
2016-ish.
8 to 10 years ago. I'll look for the old warrants and see.
I know it's changed recently. I know that the town of Brookline, New Hampshire just adopted a new energy code and it has some builders
For new houses.
for new houses.
Oh,
and it
yeah.
just like, holy, just changes the pricing structure completely. So,
I mean, it does, but at the same time, now a new house gets a rating.
yeah, they're tight,
Yeah.
sustainable.
And if someone wants to buy that house, and if you've got a crappy rating or no rating,
Yeah.
see you later.
No, this is good. I mean, I think it sounds like it could be useful for the school, and we're a town and a community that needs to open up as many doors as possible to be resourceful with funding, find out where the grants are and someone to go after them, and B, make our buildings last longer than we're gonna last, in essence. So,
If you trust AI, town meeting needs to approve the stretch code.
I'll
So-
go through our old town meeting minutes and see.
do we need to vote on this tonight, or is this just an education?
There's no vote here.
No, I didn't, we didn't put it down as a vote, it was more informational and for you to kind of think about, and consider, and maybe we can come back at a future meeting and
I think it's a good idea.